By the way, after weeks of watching Republican members of Congress who support Trump showing up at the courthouse, the Biden campaign sent a surrogate of its own to Lower Manhattan yesterday. Actor Robert De Niro, the two-time Oscar winner and New York City resident, showed up shortly after court got underway. He was joined by Biden campaign communications director Michael Tyler, as well as two of the police officers who defended the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, Michael Fanone and Harry Dunn. There, De Niro delivered a message on behalf of the campaign, warning about the dangers of a second Trump administration.
I don't mean to scare you. No, wait, maybe I do mean to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye that we all take for granted. And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave. He will never leave. When Trump ran in 2016, it was like a joke. This buffoon running for president. No, never could happen. We'd forgotten the lessons of history that showed us other clowns who weren't taken seriously until they became vicious dictators. With Trump, we have a second chance. And no one is laughing now. This is the time to stop him by voting him out once and for all. We don't want to wake up after the election saying, what, again? My God, what the hell have we done? We can't have that happen again.
Okay, joining us now, communications director for the Biden-Harris campaign, Michael Tyler, who, as we mentioned, also spoke at the news conference outside the courthouse. I guess I have to ask you why you decided to speak there and to have the campaign show up at the courthouse. I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me at all.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. We showed up there because the news media has been incessantly posted up there day in and day out for weeks. And so, as we said last week, we are going to use the next month to talk about the upcoming presidential debate in Atlanta and the things that Donald Trump is going to have to answer for. First and foremost, he's going to answer for the continued threat that he poses to our democracy, his continued embrace of political violence. And so that's what Robert De Niro and Officers Fanone and Dunn were speaking to down in Manhattan yesterday. They were speaking to the fact that Donald Trump still regularly embraces political violence, is calling for a bloodbath if he loses this election, and is pledging to rule as a dictator on day one. And so, given that the news media is
I get everything that you're saying, Michael. Michael, I get everything you're saying, and I agree with the officers who showed up and with Robert De Niro, but I'm just curious about the location. Last week, when the members of Congress showed up to support Donald Trump, I called it unbecoming of the office. They're serving the people of their district, American citizens, and not supposed to politicize a court proceeding. And I feel the same way about the campaign. Is there any concern about the campaign getting a little bit too close to these court proceedings, and could that backfire? Any concerns? Looking back, was it a good decision?
No, there's no concern. This campaign is not speaking about the substance of the trial in any way, shape, or form. What we are talking about, what we talked about yesterday, and what we'll continue to talk about, is the unique threat that Donald Trump poses to our democracy. And so a lot of the coverage as of late has been focused on the stakes for him, but we're making sure that the American people understand the stakes for them. And that's Donald Trump's potential rise to power if he's able to win this election. This campaign is making sure that he does not. That's why we are engaged and focused on highlighting the stakes, highlighting what he is attempting to do if he's able to regain power, but also highlighting the president's historic record of accomplishment, the positive things that he has done day in and day out for working people across this country. That's what we're doing today in Philadelphia with the launch of Black Voters for Biden, and that's what we'll do day in and day out, making sure that people understand Joe Biden's positive record of accomplishment, his vision for the future, and of course, constantly calling out the danger and the threat that Donald Trump poses to our democracy. That's what we were doing yesterday, and it's what we will continue to do.
Hey, Michael, Jonathan Lemire. Should we expect more of these sort of guerrilla surprise style campaign appearances, whether at the courthouse or elsewhere? And secondly, we may be just hours or a day or two away from a verdict in the Trump case. Do you think that's going to matter to voters one way or the other, no matter what the outcome may be?
Well, yeah, listen, I'll take those in order. Look, first and foremost, I think one thing that this campaign understands is that we operate in an increasingly fragmented and fractured media environment. And so when you have one thing like this trial that's taking up a lot of oxygen, you have to be creative. You have to use every tool at your disposal to break through that clutter and communicate your message to the electorate. That's what yesterday was about, and this campaign will continue to be creative in the ways in which we reach the voters where they are right now. As it relates to the verdict, what this campaign is focused on and what we know to be true is that there's one way to guarantee that Donald Trump never returns to power, and that's by defeating him at the ballot box. That's what voters did in 2020, and that's what this campaign is charging towards in 2024. And that's why we're constantly reminding people of what the stakes are going to be, because Donald Trump is going to be the Republican nominee at this point. And so the American electorate in this campaign has to be ready to defeat him at the ballot box.
Michael, two things. One is, as Amika pointed out, many had the questions about using the courthouse to make the statement because a lot of us, I certainly thought about going down with the Central Park Five, but we didn't want to make it look like it was anything other than the evidence. But at the same time, I think that the way the Congress people came in, I don't think you could have held Robert De Niro back any more as passionate as he is about making sure the democracy is sustained, and you couldn't have had a better spokesman. But the second thing, today, as you go to Philadelphia with both the president and vice president, there's been those that have said that the polls show black support declining. And if there was any indication of that not being the case, in my opinion, it was the fiasco in the Bronx last week, where Donald Trump drew a mostly white crowd that he imported and maybe got about 3,000 or 4,000 people, which might fill up the bleachers at Madison Square Garden. But as you target the black vote, and as there's been a real focus on that, many of us, 8 of the civil rights groups that are called the legacy groups, we were guests of the president at the state dinner for Kenya. And it was clear, President Obama, others there, that the president and the campaign is also focusing on reaching out to validators. How important is energizing black voter turnout with this focus today?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. Thank you for the question. That's exactly what today is about. We have both the president and the vice president in Philadelphia directly engaging with black voters in a key city and a key swing state. And that is an effort that we are going to replicate in all of the battleground states today, tomorrow, through the weekend, and throughout the summer. We're focused not only on ramping up our paid advertising investments, but really deepening and scaling our organizing apparatus across the summer, working with partner organizations, tapping into their networks, their grassroots networks, so that we can communicate directly with black voters in their communities. We understand that you cannot show up in September and October and just come ask for votes. You have to earn votes. That's what Joe Biden understands. That's what Kamala Harris understands. And that's the work that this campaign is doing. And I think, as you pointed out, that sustained organizing work stands in stark contrast to the outreach efforts, or lack thereof, that we see from the Trump campaign. They seem to think that you can shutter minority outreach centers and meanwhile hawk bootleg sneakers or tout your own mugshot as evidence that black voters should support you as far as their outreach effort goes. We know that that's bogus. We know that black voters know that to be an insult to their intelligence, and the way that you earn their support is by reminding them of what you have done for them, which is what this administration has done. No administration has done more for black voters than this administration, reminding them of the stakes in working to earn their vote. So that's what Philadelphia is about. That's what this entire summer is going to be about for this campaign.
Michael, good morning. As you understand very well, at the end of the day, a lot of the vote come November is going to be on the economy. We all see the numbers. We talk about them every day, about the historically low unemployment, about GDP growth. Even consumer confidence is strong. People feel like in their own lives things are going pretty well. We talked about the Dow crossing 40,000, and yet it is that inflation that hits people when they're paying $8 for a box of cereal that you see show up in some of the polling that said they think Donald Trump would do a better job with the economy than Joe Biden is doing, despite all the data I just laid out. So how do you break through on that key central core issue of this campaign about the economy?
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. You do it in a number of ways, right? It takes a relentlessness. That's what a campaign is all about. But you have to remind people of where we came from and where we are going and what the stakes are. We have to remind people of the historic record of accomplishment since this president took office. 15 million jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, the work that the president has done to lower costs for middle-class families, capping the cost of insulin, for example, at $35 for seniors. He's going to cap the cost of insulin for everybody in a second term. The $2,000 annual out-of-pocket cap for seniors on prescription drugs, the continued work that we have to do, but also making sure that people understand that everything Donald Trump is talking about doing would only worsen the gap between the super wealthy and the rest of us. He's talking about reinstating even more tax cuts for the ultra wealthy and corporations. We see him out on the stump promising big oil executives that he'll do whatever the hell they want if they cut checks to his campaign, while he then cuts our Social Security. So we have to make sure that people understand, A, what the record of accomplishment is from the president, the work that he continues to do, but also the damage that Donald Trump would do to middle-class families if he's able to regain power. And so that's what this campaign is going to relentlessly communicate from now until November.
Communications Director for the Biden-Harris campaign, Michael Tyler, thank you very much for being on this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.